Both parties are working for the same special interests. Big Pharma isn't just giving checks to one side or the other. The military-industrial complex is not just writing checks to Republicans. You have the major interests that control this country, then just utilize the parties to be their valets. And being a little bit better of a valet or the lead valet as opposed to the secondary valet is just not a game I want to win.
Donald Trump in the White House, he is not the creator of everything we see in the culture war, in our politics. He is an avatar of the anger of so many people. And you know what? When Donald Trump won in 2016, it was just the presidency. Meanwhile, Congress was still establishment. The Supreme Court was still establishment. And even right now, even with Trump's nominees, you still get a bit of that establishment. Thomas and Alito are pretty good. We're now seeing MAGA in Congress. And when they say the Republican Party's not unified, I'm like, good. It means there's some people who are actually representing me, at least, even if it is only a small handful of people.
When we were unified? When we passed the Patriot Act. When we were unified? When we went to war in Iraq. When we were unified? When we were willing to take people's liberties away during COVID. When we were unified? When we were printing money for extra COVID spending. Unity has brought some of the worst results. We need dissent. We need the opportunity for people to make a counter argument and then have the best ideas rise to the top.
I actually don't disagree with what you're saying there, because I don't know if you guys have read Musk's recent book. It's a phenomenal book to read, Walter Isaacson. One of the things he said, we had a culture that if you work with them, he said he's not a fan of camaraderie, because camaraderie prevents people from calling out each other's bullshit. So it kind of validates what you're saying. I'm with it. That's not what I know the enemy is the establishment. I fully understand it. But I also think we have to kind of get in to be able to impose the philosophies and ideas that we have. So going back to the question I was asking you, did you actually think you were going to get him to be the first to get fired? Did you actually think that was going to happen? Or were you like, look, I'm just trying to scare the crap out of him because he made a promise to me? Or were you like, no, we're getting rid of him?
I'd made an existential decision that I wasn't going to own him anymore. That there were a group of us that was large enough where if we weren't going to vote for him, one of two things was going to happen. The Democrats were going to own him, or he was not going to be the speaker anymore. And I was actually okay with either one of those results, because either is illuminating and either creates opportunity. So I had no foresight as to how the Democrats were going to act. I kind of had a feeling they were going to resent the fact that he lied to them just like he'd lied to us. But I went out pretty publicly in a number of interviews and just said, we're going to file the motion to vacate. We got enough Republican votes where he won't stay the Republican speaker. You guys either adopt him or ditch him. But either way,
and I'm not so sure it matters unity when it comes to electoral politics either. You're going to have people in their districts communicating and looking towards their single member of Congress. And there may be a rhino, as people would describe them, in some district. They're not going to blame their member of Congress for the actions of other members of Congress. They'll simply go to them and say, hey, we want the Republican to win and unify. Will you try and unify? Yes, I will. They're not going to vote Democrat because Matt Gaetz is arguing with them.
No, I don't disagree that. All I'm thinking about is optics. I'm thinking about the voter. I'm thinking about, in every possible way, this is favoring conservatives to be able to win 2024 in every possible way. I was wondering if you did this thinking it was a way of scaring him, or you did this thinking he's going to get fired and that was the intentions. Because the reality of it is, what kind of helped you, Matt, is the fact that there was not a red wave in November of last year. If there was a red wave, you guys wouldn't have enough leverage to be able to get rid of him.
Well, it depends on who would have won. If I'd have had Caroline Leavitt, Joe Kent, J.R. Majewski, some of these America First candidates that McCarthy starved of resources, and people who should have been there in Congress. If we'd have had those folks, maybe even a larger majority would have led to more people with the desire to push back against the traditional trajectory.
Didn't the GOP go against Blake Masters as well?
I know more about the House politics
than
the Senate politics.
It seems to be story after story that the machine itself will push out anybody who would end up actually trying to fight for change or what the American people care about.